Look at there. Everybody is joining in. Good evening. It is Thursday evening. Thank you for tuning in to the show. My name is Joseph Reed. I encourage you as you come in the room, feel free to share the show because that's important. Because you want other people to see it. Because I have to, be able to have some type of validity here in the internet. And I can't get that validity if you're not sharing the show. So just do it. As you can see, I'm coming to you remotely. I'm coming to you from the country of Mississippi, which is why you see a paneling background behind me. You can't get any more retro than that, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see everybody coming in. Hello to Mary, Deborah, Brooke. Good to see you. Hello, Billy Joe. Hello, Kayla. Abby Ann. Good to see you. April. Hi there, Bree. Hello, Matt, Braxton, Ryan. Good to see you guys. Come on in and share the show. We got a great guest on the show today, Dr. Jeff Steele. We can call him doctor, we can call him songwriter, we can call him singer, author, pastor, all of these titles. Number one songwriter, award winning songwriter, best selling author. We're going to talk about all of that. And we may even talk a little bit about some pro wrestling. There might be a headlock or two given because we may ask Dr. Jeff about his wrestling career because as you know, you guys who are frequent to the show, you know that I'm a big wrestling fan. And Dr. Jeff Steele is as well. Good to see you, Angela. Bobby Bowen, my friend, good to see you here. Welcome to the show. We're going to go right now without any further, there's just, what can I say? When you have someone like this on the show, you just got to bring him on because there's way, way too many accolades involved. Hello, Dr. Jeff Steele. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Well, I'm hanging in and hanging out. Says the host has unmuted me, so now we're in
You
business.
you are not muted, my friend. You are
You know, I've
good.
been watching. I've been watching this show for a couple of weeks. When I knew I was coming on here, I wanted to see how people acted on here. Brent was good the other night. He acted like he had good sense about what he was known for, and of course, Kenny was on here. I would have been a week and a half ago, and I can't outdo him. He dressed the part. He looked the part. He was ready to go from the moment he stepped behind the microphone.
Man, Kenny was great. It's and he's a great guy. We had a lot of fun talking about some great stories. I've got already right away. Let's just let everyone know that's listening to the show. I encourage you to share the show and let your friends know to tune in as well. Dr. Jeff, we're going to talk about your songwriting. We're going to talk about um, your most importantly the brand new record that's coming out. It's actually available for pre-order. So let's go
Right
ahead
now,
and yeah, right now let's talk about the record, and then we'll do it kind of backwards. We'll talk new first, and then we'll keep coming back to the album as we go. But tell us about this brand new record because I'm super excited about it.
well, now I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I just happen to have one of these I can show everybody. Uh, the Steels, a lot of people, and I guess they were right. Uh, they said, everybody asked me this. I thought you guys quit like back in '04, '05, somewhere along that point. Well, but you didn't hear a press conference. You didn't see a contract being torn in half. We didn't quit. We just kind of slowed down some so the kids could come off the road and to go to school. And Brad actually, the girls were homeschooled, and Brad was too. And everybody says he's the smartest knife in the drawer here. He was homeschooled, and raise your hand if you were his teacher. I taught him from the time he started first grade until we moved here to Coleman, Alabama. And he started the 7th grade here and went from middle school all the way to high school, and graduated with every honor and award that the school had to give. He won them all. I'm not even kidding. And then he went on a performing arts scholarship to Wallace State Community College. And then from there, he went to Montevallo University. And then he ended up getting his degree from Faulkner University. It's not like the other kids didn't do anything. Christy went on and got her master's degree at the University of West Alabama. And Kayla, my goodness, she's got like 4 businesses, and every one of them are doing great. She may not have got all the accolades the other ones did, but she got the bull in the china shop attitude that keeps her going all the time. And, I forgot what the question was.
We're talking about the record. Yeah, tell us about the record. Yeah.
We broke into Southern Gospel really like the mid 80s. That's when Faith Hill used to sing with us. Mm-hmm. And then when we taught her everything we knew and sent her off to country music to do as good as she could. And then we did some independent recording, and then Daywind Records picked us up back around 1992 or 93. And my God blessed us with a great run there. So many wonderful things happened. And then we thought it was time to devote to the kids. So we came off the road. Nobody made us come off the road. We didn't have to come off the road. We came off so our kids could have a normal life for a little while. They made the most of it.
Yeah.
And then now that I'm an old man, I'm 60 years old now. It took about 2 years to get it all together. But we've been talking with Stowtown for just about that long. And finally, we got everything worked out. We signed a deal with them. And Wayne Hahn is one of the big wigs there. Matter of fact, this particular project, I think they call it an EP. I call it a CD. Somebody asked me the other day, they texted me and they said, "Hey, we pre-ordered your project." I said, "Well, thank you." And the guy said, "Let me ask you a question." I said, "What's that?" He said, "How come your CD only has 7 songs on it?" And I tried to be nice to the guy. And I said, "Well, buddy," I said, "if you'll look close, you'll find out many people in the Southern Gospel field now have gone to shorter CDs, 7, 8, 9 songs." Mm-hmm. So the guy says, "Ernie Haas and Signature Sound hadn't done that." I didn't know what else to say. So I just said, "Well, friend, Ernie owns a record company. He can do whatever he wants to."
Amen.
And I meant it in the nicest way possible. I was just out of things to say. But honestly, Brad has become a writer in the time since we've been off the road. He plays the keyboard for us. He's our worship pastor at the church that I'm the senior pastor of. And now he's become a tremendous songwriter. Mm. And he's just a phenom as a singer. And we feel like, in all honesty, many of you have gotten all of our previous projects. I'm telling you, this is the best one we've ever done. Mm. It's the best songs we've ever had. And Wayne came down one day, because he's been a member of our family since the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. He came down one day to, well, let's be honest, to eat with us, because he likes a good meal every once in a while. And he looked at me as he was shaking my hand. That's back when we still could shake hands with people. And Wayne looked at me. He got that real serious look in his eyes. And he said, "Jeff, I will produce this project as if it were my own." Wow. And I said, "Well, buddy, that's all I can ask." And he did it. I mean, the production on this thing is great. The song selection, when you're only going to do 7 songs, that makes you where you really have to concentrate on the song selection on everything. Mm-hmm. So every song beat out some other song to be there, even though it was ours. We had to pick the best of our own stuff. Mm-hmm. Brad and I wrote a song together. We were at Christ Church, as a matter of fact, for a meeting there. Scotty Inman was at the same meeting, and we had the opportunity to sit down with Scotty and write some. And one of the songs we wrote was Scotty's, the current radio single, A Song to Remind You. So that's Brad and myself and Scotty. Scotty's as hot as a firecracker right now when it comes to songwriting. He's just that kid. I call him kid. He's 37 years old. Brad's 26. Scotty's 37. And I'm 60. But what a great day that was writing. And then we wrote another song with Scotty that's on the project called This Is the Church. And everybody's heard it. The exact quote several of them have used is, that one right there is worth the price of admission just to get that one. So we're excited. Somebody says, good to have y'all back. I said, well, we really never went anywhere because, 2019, people forget so quickly. As a matter of fact, most people can't tell me what the number one song was in Southern Gospel Music last month. And that's just the truth.
Yeah.
But we had the number one song of the year for 2019. So we never went anywhere. We just, we stopped being high profile, maybe. And I don't know that we'll ever be high profile, whatever that means. But we're excited to be back in the mix. I'll just say it like that. And I hope everybody takes advantage of the opportunity starting at midnight of May the 15th, which is what, two weeks away, 2 weeks, 2 days away. It will go on sale at midnight of May the 15th. You can purchase it online. They'll send it right to your house. You can continue even now to pre-order the CD. That way you get this beautiful picture of my wife and my son and myself. And you can still order CDs like you used to. You can pre-order them now, and I hope you will.
Well, I pre-ordered mine, and I'm very excited about it. First question coming from your wife. She says, hey, ask him how great his wife is.
Well,
Jerry.
We've been together through a pandemic now, so we're still married. I'm not sure how long that'll last, or when the lawyers are coming back to work. I just don't know. Well, boy, she's a good wife. I'll tell you, tonight she had it with cooking. I mean, that was it for her. She didn't want to cook anymore.
Yeah.
For today, anyway. And she went out and got some Cracker Barrel. So that's not bad.
No, Cracker Barrel's good. Hey, that's a good choice for sure.
Well, you have to order, to go now. So that lets you do it.
Well, thank goodness. I love the Steeles. So does Angie Olmstead. She says she loves the Steeles, and she also asked, "How are your grandchildren?"
I was just hoping she wasn't going to repeat the question about my great wife, because I could go on about that all night. But the grandkids, that's a whole different situation right there. They came over this morning, as a matter of fact, because Kayla, one of her businesses, she was off to work. She's a lot like you. When you have your own business, you don't have regular hours. You just go. Mm-hmm. They came over today, and and we're very fortunate. We have a bonus granddaughter that is the stepdaughter of Christy and her husband, Chris. You talk about confusing. We have a grandson named Chris who's married to our daughter. Did I say grandson? Son-in-law is what I mean. Mm-hmm. We have a son-in-law named Chris. He's married to our granddaughter, or our daughter. I'll get here in a minute. Our daughter named Christy, who we call Chris. And Sherry's best friend is Chris Freeman. So when somebody calls and says, hey, it's Chris, I have to stand there for 30 minutes and figure out who it is. But those girls, the bonus granddaughter, she's like 17 years old, fixing to be a senior in high school. She keeps the grandbabies a lot of times, and they love her. And she loves them, and I love all of them. So they can come over here when G pops home all they want to, just do whatever they want to, and don't think they don't know that.
Well, I've just had my first grandbaby. She's going to be 2.5, and
it'll only get worse.
Girl, it's insane, the love and affection and ache that you have for these babies. It's insane. I know we mentioned your wrestling career earlier. We've not talked details. Angela Blazik is here. She says, WWE or MMA, which do you prefer? But let's start out by you telling us how you were involved in pro wrestling and when.
Well, when I was a teenager, literally I was in high school, we used to go, me and a couple of buddies of mine, we'd go every time they came to town. I lived in Jackson, Mississippi at the time. And we had permanent front row seats, which meant we didn't have to order them. They just set them aside for us. And that's where we sat. And then there was a fellow there that was the local promoter, Jack Curtis Jr., who also had been a wrestler in his younger days. And he heard me talking there at the matches. And he asked me if I'd be interested in doing the ring announcing. I think he offered me like, I don't know, $10 or $15 a week, which is about enough to pay for my front row ticket. And I said, sure, I'd love to. Well, that was the end of my seat because I found out both sides, the heels and the baby faces, would love to have me come back and just visit with them backstage. And I started doing that and then got to working for a small promotion in Alabama and Mississippi, Southeastern Championship Wrestling. I actually became a wrestler. And some of the best days of my life. As a matter of fact, one of the guys yesterday, I was talking about on Facebook how I hated living in a masked society. And I do. And I mean, I'll do it if I have to, but I don't like it. And this guy sent me a picture of himself in his mask with Buddy Landell. They had been a tag team together up through Indiana and Kentucky. And of course, Buddy's been deceased for probably at least 5 years now. And it was good to see him, and couldn't see who was under the mask. I knew it was, but I got into it like that, and then finally had to get out because I had the tremendous story. This actually happened. I had a main event run with a guy under a mask whose ring name was the Big Blue Yankee, the Mighty Yankee. Well, I'm just being honest. I'm not picking on the guy. He's deceased as well. And I loved him and he loved me. And we worked every night we got together in the main event. That means probably if bell time was 7:30, me and the Yank would go on for the main event, maybe at 9:30, 9:45. Well, I loved the Big Blue Yankee, but that guy, the time we had to get to the matches was a lot earlier than bell time. And we'd have to get there a lot of times at 5:30 and 6 o'clock. Well, the Big Blue Yank would start drinking Old Charter whiskey at that point, 5:30 or 6 o'clock. By the time 9:45 came around, that guy was so wasted, he didn't know whether we were in the main event or whether we even wrestled or not. He had no idea. And he's the only person. He used to have the built-up shoe. You kick that thing on the ground with your toe, and it somehow loads the boot. And if somebody kicks you in the head, you're just out. The Big Blue Yankee was the only person I know who, when he loaded his boot and kicked me, I could swanny he loaded his boot with something because he liked to kick my head off every night. Well, I finally went and told the promoter, I said, fella, I can't work with this guy anymore. He's killing me. I love him, but he's killing me. So he canceled that program and we went on to another program, which I went all the way back to the bottom of the card, started working my way up to wrestle with somebody else. Well, Big Blue Yankee knew we were drawing some money. So one night I'm in the first match of the night. You talk about the curtain jerking. And I'm in the ring, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here comes Big Blue Yank. He rolls in the ring and he immediately starts after me. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? So I did what I shouldn't have done. I rolled out of the ring immediately. I should have stayed and stared him down or something, but I rolled out of the ring. He grabbed the microphone, and I don't know what our report time was that day, but he'd been drinking pretty good. And he grabbed the mic and he said, "Let me tell you something, preacher." That was it. I walked to the promoter that night because, I was in Bible college and I was pastoring a small church somewhere, but I'd never had anybody over the microphone in a wrestling match. "Let me tell you something, preacher." I told the promoter, I said, "I will not be back. I'm done. I've got to get serious and finish what I'm doing." But that actually happened. I remember that like it was yesterday. But anyway, after that, I wrote, anybody that knows anything about the wrestling business, they'll recognize the name Dave Meltzer. I wrote for Dave's newsletter for a while, wrote for Wade Keller's newsletter for a while. And now I guess you'd have to say, though I still know some of the people. It's been a long time since those days. And some of the best people I've ever met were through professional wrestling. That's the truth. Nobody wants to hear that, but it's the truth.
Yeah, I agree with that. So WWE or MMA? I think
I hope somebody would forget that, but definitely WWE for me. And I know there are a lot that like MMA. I'm a big Ronda Rousey fan, but even she had all she could stand.
It took, about a year? Wayne Smith said, I remember listening to Brother Jeff Steele in Jackson, Mississippi back in 1988 through 1991 when he was a DJ on a local radio channel there. Tell us about that.
Well, I actually had two, and they kind of overlap the time he's talking about. I was at a station in Jackson, Mississippi, WJXN, the old Colonel station, and I stayed there from 1979 probably through 1989. They sold the station, and I went to another station there in Jackson, and it was an FM station. Went from AM to FM, and if this guy Wayne, if you remember, are you one of the ones that was at the old Colonel station, or are you one of the ones that remembers the commercials that I used to do with the old lady there at the WRJH in Brandon, Mississippi, which is a suburb of Jackson? Some of those commercials that I did with that lady have become renowned around the country. I've had them walk up to me in other states a long way away. I've had them ask me, I remember those commercials you and Miss June used to do all the time. Well, they think it was hilarious. I was just trying to stay alive. I had to do something with that radio station to get the listening audience built up. And I thought making stupid commercials might work. And it did. I stayed there till the demands of Southern gospel just wouldn't allow me to stay there anymore. So those were, I guess I call them the good old days, mostly because I was in my 20s and 30s. It's a long time ago.
That's before all the pains, the aches and pains take over, my friend.
Here they come. You're right.
I'm 46 now, and
what I wouldn't give me 46 again.
Well, as I get older, I can, you're 60, which I obviously don't think is old. The older I get, 60 seems very, very young. But man, I am aching and paining. Don't help with all this pandemic food I've been eating because, oh my gosh.
If I haven't gained 40 pounds by the end of this pandemic, something's wrong with the scales. I mean, it's unbelievable. I've never, and look, I used to weigh not as much as I used to be, but I used to weigh a lot more than I weigh now. And then I went and lost 126 pounds in a year, wrote a best-selling book about that. And I was in Pigeon Forge doing a spot for the Quartet Convention a couple of years ago. And a guy came up to me and he said, "Are you Dr. Jeff Steele?" I said, "Well, it depends on who's looking for me. If you were the Internal Revenue Service, no, that's not me." And the guy says, "Didn't you write a book about weight loss?" I just looked at him and I said, "Brother, I'm backslid right now. You don't have to just leave me alone." But this pandemic's killing me.
Oh man, no doubt. Same with me. It's insane. I think it's interesting of all the things you've done. I was thinking today when I was driving here, and I really mean this. I don't know in Southern gospel music. I don't think that I know of a personal better songwriter than Jeff Steele. I've thought about it. There's a lot of hot songwriters today, and I love them, and I get it. But the quality of song, the depth, the message, I can't think of a personal writer to me in the Southern gospel music field than you, and I mean that.
Well, I've been very fortunate. Thank you for saying that. I've been very fortunate in that we've been able to reach people with a lot of our songs. I mean, we've literally been here since 1984. And man, when you've been here that long, people, and Rodney Griffin's a lot the same way. He's been writing so long.
You're right.
That a lot of his songs that weren't the push songs or the singles off the record, people have bought the records and listened all the way through to them. And I give you a couple of examples. Since you couldn't find anybody but me, let me tell you a couple you probably left out along the way. Gerald Crabb is a monster songwriter, and he's able to come up with it every time. I mean, Squire Parsons is another one, and I had one right on the tip of my tongue there. Scotty Inman is becoming one very fast. But you know, maybe the greatest songwriter I have ever encountered that nobody talks about, and everybody's missing when they don't. And that's a guy down in Houston, Texas, named Lanny Wolf.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Lanny probably, I don't know how in the world people have continued to overlook him when we talk about the great gospel songwriters of our time. He is simply one of the top 2 or 3. I put him on the same level as Dottie Rambo and some of the other great writers of the past. He's that good. I don't know how people continue to miss him.
He's incredible. He's incredible. Someone.
It would take me all night to list and sing 2 lines of his great songs. It would take me all night.
Man, no doubt about it. Wayne,
and that announcement was not paid for nor approved by Lanny Wolf.
Wayne adds he loved listening to Swap Shop. Boy, the Swap Shop days in radio, that was big time back in the day, bro.
Well, you know, when I was in radio, especially there, it was at both stations. The other one didn't have a swap shop, so I brought it with me because it was so profitable.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted. It's kind of like buying advertising on the Rush Limbaugh show. If you listen to Rush, you'll find out people buy next to his program, in the middle of his program, right after his program. And that was the way the swap shop was. You'd have 5 minutes of commercials going into it, 5 minutes of commercials in the middle of it, 5 minutes of commercials right after it was over. But man, I used to love the swap shop. There was one day, Wayne, that I didn't like the swap shop because I was, the announcer from 2 to 6, sold my own show, and we had so many commercials you could hardly play any music. So one day it was a live show, so a guy got me live on the air, and I had 2 different all-you-can-eat catfish places sponsoring my show. One of them was Sudi's Catfish in Crystal Springs, Mississippi, and the other one was South Fork Fish House at McGee, Mississippi, where I ended up living for a while. And a guy had me live on there, and he thought he had me. He said, "Brother Jay, I just want to know, you advertise for Sudi's Catfish House and South Fork Catfish House. Which one is your real favorite?"
Oh, my gosh.
Well, he thought he had me, so I just thought for about 2 seconds, and I said, "Sir, if you had asked me that same question about my children, I'd crawl to this phone line and slap your face right now." That's the only way I knew to get out of it. Of course, I had no idea the grandbabies were coming someday at the time. So.
Oh, my gosh. It's really difficult to be put on the spot like that. So let me ask you this. When you were on the stage, you guys performed as the Steeles. You were on the biggest stages in Southern gospel music for sure. Any embarrassing moments that you want to talk about, that you can talk about?
Well, when you get to be 60 and you cross that line, you kind of buy a little bit of privilege to not have to tell everything you know. There were some great nights. Probably the one that stands out that I can tell, Little Roy Lewis has got to be one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. I don't even know what they were, but we were on the program that night with the Lewis family and the Primitive Quartet. And how we ever got on that program, I'll never know. I love bluegrass, but there's not a bluegrass bone in my body. Here we are on the stage with the Primitives and the Lewis family. Here we come with our soundtracks and Troy Peach playing the piano. But somewhere backstage, Little Roy had found, I don't know even what to call them. There were some kind of shoes with giant springs on the bottom of them. And Primitive got out there, and one of their True Blue, I Love Mama and the Mountain songs. And they're singing and crying and playing and crying and singing. And Little Roy walks out behind them on stage, these giant springs below these two boxes, and he's walking across the stage. And poor old Mike Riddle, he's just out there, he's doing everything he can do, and he can't understand why the people are laughing their heads off. Well, that's why Little Roy had you, Mike. Which reminds me of one more thing I've got to tell you.
Yeah.
We, as crazy as it sounds, we used to play with the Primitive a pretty good bit. Mike Riddle and I are the exact same age.
Mm-hmm.
And I was backstage with him one night, and he's playing his acoustic guitar backstage, just kind of getting his fingers warmed up. And I said, Mike, I said, I got to tell you, I think you're one of the top 5, in my opinion, you're one of the top 5 guitar players in all genres of music.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, thank you for saying that, Brother Jeff. I appreciate that. He said, what keeps me from being number 1? I said, well, Mike, the only thing that keeps you from being number 1, in my opinion, is that you can't play Stairway to Heaven, the old Led Zeppelin song, Stairway to Heaven. Mike says, sit down, buddy. And he started playing Stairway to Heaven as perfect as it could be. And I stood up. I said, okay, you're number 1. You're number 1.
Gosh, that is awesome.
He
I
sure
love
did it.
him.
Oh, great guy.
Man, they've been consistent through the years.
Oh,
you know, one of my favorite songs that you've written, something upbeat. Of course, my gosh, I think of all these incredible songs. Blessed Be the Name of the Lord is probably my favorite. But we've got to talk about On the Road to Emmaus. Evan Miller says, what is your favorite song you have written? Plus, what did you think of the Gaither Vocal Band's cut of On the Road to Emmaus?
Well, first of all, Evan, thank you for asking the question. You could have asked anything you wanted to. You asked something good. I was never so honored as when Bill called, because he calls me every once in a while, and it's always something worth listening to him about.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gaither is a real grace person. He understands the Bible. You can tell from his writing how deeply he follows his walk with the Lord. And he's called fairly often. And he always loved On the Road to Emmaus. We did it on one of his Gaither tapings years and years ago. And I think it was Ben Spear told me one time, he said, Bill loves that song. He said, he'll cut it before it's over with. Well, he calls me one day and he says, we're going to record On the Road to Emmaus. And I said, well, that's great. I've had some songs you've recorded in the past, and that's great for all the spiritual reasons, and it's great for all the practical reasons too. And they were going to record On the Road to Emmaus. That's back when Bill had the deal with Cracker Barrel, where they were the only people that sold his records for a while because they could sell so many. They just kept putting the records in their stores exclusively. Mm-hmm. So Bill calls, says he's going to cut it. He's so happy. He almost squealed like a little girl. He was so happy. And I don't know, about 3 or 4 weeks later, he calls. Try to imagine. You just got a call from Bill Gaither a couple, 3 weeks ago. He's so happy he's going to record one of your songs.
Right, yeah.
And think about what an honor that is to have Bill Gaither. He's going to record one of your songs.
Right.
So he's going to farm it out to somebody else. He's going to record it himself. So he calls me about 3 weeks later. And as happy as he was the last time I talked to him, I honestly thought somebody in his inner circle had passed away.
Oh, wow.
He was on the verge of tears. I said, Bill, what is it? He said, Jeff, he said, we got to laying out the record. He said, when the Gaither Vocal Band cuts a record, he said, David has to have a certain amount of cuts. Mike has to have a certain amount of cuts. Mark has to have a certain amount of cuts. And he said, it really doesn't matter about me, but I've got to be featured on 1 or 2 of them anyway. He said, I'm just so sorry. I'm so sorry. Now, I'm on the other end of the line with Bill Gaither. I've got to really be careful what I say here.
Right.
So I said, Bill, you know how it works. I'm a songwriter. I said, I've been turned down as many times as we've been cut. I said, I understand it. I understand the economics, this whole thing. Thank you for the consideration, and hung up the phone. 3 weeks later, I get another call from Bill. I don't know which Bill I'm going to get this time, the laughing one or the crying one. I pick up the phone, and it's the squealing one. He's happy as he can be. I said, Bill, what in the world? He said, Cracker Barrel just called back. They want 3 more songs on this project. And he said, you can guess what one of them is going to be. We're back to On the Road to Emmaus. And they did cut it. And I remember the first time I heard it. Of course, I thought it was the greatest song I've ever heard in my life, the way they did it. Michael English has a key change line in that song. I don't know where he pulled the note from. And he did it twice that night. I don't know where he got it from, but he got it every time. Now that it's been some time, we recorded it in 1999. And Bill recorded it in, I want to say 2005, something like that. I say it now with fear and trepidation in my voice. I'm speaking for somebody else, not myself. I loved the Gaither Vocal Band cut. I hope they'll cut something else of ours. But I'm telling you, 100% of the people who cared to send me an email or tell me in person, 100%, not 99, 100% said, we like y'all's version better. So I don't know what that means.
That's pretty cool.
I never get in a fight with anybody about that.
I
really think people always like what they heard first best. And it's like the Cathedral Quartet. There are a lot of groups that have recorded "I'll Love You, Oh, Love You, a lot of groups have cut that, and probably a lot of them cut it better than the Cathedrals. But I heard them do it first, and it was a mess. I mean, I know what a train wreck sounds like. I mean, you had Glenn and George. And I know it wasn't their best effort, but it's the one I heard first, and I've always liked it the best.
I know. I get exactly what you're saying. A couple of people in here I want to mention. It's good to see Tony Gore in the house, who's a good friend of yours, also a great singer and chef and restaurateur, Tony Gore. You like Tony? Tell us some Tony Gore stories. You got to have one.
The one I'd really like to tell you, I can't tell you. He'd kill me, then I'd have to go out and commit suicide for having told it. But
Tony and I have never really been acquainted other than social media. And of course, I was in radio for 35 years. Much of that was Southern gospel country. But I'm such a big fan of Tony Gore. And
Tony's a great singer.
Oh, yeah.
Probably, no question, even a better person. He is actually Christy, our oldest daughter. He's her godfather. So
very cool.
And a lot of people don't know that. Sometimes it used to be people would come up to me and want to ask me some kind of question that might cast negative light on Tony, and I'd look at him and say, "Do you realize who you're talking about to me?" And they'd shut up pretty quick. He's a great guy. Good grief, we vacationed together all over the country. I saw a picture today in one of my books here, crammed full of pictures, and it was me on the cell phone in downtown New York City at Times Square, as a matter of fact. And it was very cold. There's Tony and Sherry and little Brad at the time. All of them were planning where we were going to go next, and I'm talking on the phone to somebody. We've been everywhere. We've been in his home. He's been in ours. And here's one. You talk about funny stories. We used to live there in the greater Nashville area in Gallatin. It used to be the little village of Gallatin. Now it's exploded.
Right.
We had a house there that had a basement that was finished, had a nice bedroom, separate living room and all that. And I don't even know what he was doing there, but Tony came by the house and stayed a couple of days. And this is when you know you're good friends with somebody. It had a separate bathroom down there. So Tony, he had just gone to the bathroom. And you know you're good friends with somebody when you hear the basement door open and you hear him holler upstairs, "How'd I get the thing to stop running water down here?" I had to just tell him, jiggle the handle a couple of times. It'll stop. But most people would have never asked. How'd I make the toilet stop running?
Oh my goodness!
Then I couldn't really fall back on that at all. And then he'll give me a free meal if I'll tell him, but no.
man. So
Great guy, wonderful.
yeah, incredible chef, wonderful, wonderful cook. Angela Blazik says, "Who's your favorite singer?"
Well,
Those are tough questions, right? I mean, because if
but
you're like me, you have several favorites.
the first answer is the easiest. A lot of people in this generation, and maybe the one before that, have never had the opportunity to hear Rusty Goodman.
Oh,
Man alive, that guy could just destroy a song. I mean, he was so great and taken from us way too soon, and just did a wonderful job. People don't believe this. If I were to break it down and to get into specifics, it took him a long time in my mind to get him, but I think Jonathan Wilburn's probably the best lead singer I've ever heard. Just
you're right.
tremendous singer. And it
You're
doesn't
right.
hurt that he's my neighbor over here about 45 miles away.
You
That
know,
helps some.
I've made the comment in groups, Southern Gospel group pages, that I firmly believe that he could be the greatest lead singer of all time. Um, and that I know that's a big statement, but you have to look. He was one of the longest tenured members of Gold City,
Yep.
singing those highly. I mean, a Gold City lead singer is pretty much a tenor singer. There's such
Right.
high.
He's a lead singer that ought to be a tenor singer.
I know, and he's just consistent, great. His stage presence, just one of the greatest. I think he's underrated in the industry, big time.
Well, and a lot of people don't get either. I've known Jonathan a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I've known Jonathan every bit as long as I've known Tony. I think we met the exact same night somewhere. And Jonathan has become, in addition to his tremendous singing ability, he's become as genuinely nice a person as I believe I've ever met. Just nice, very nice.
That's good. That's good. He's been on the show before. He's always been first class to me. Just a great guy, great singer. Got a great group, Wilburn and Wilburn, with his son. I want to get back to this record because I'm very excited about it. I'm going to put the.
You think you're excited about it? I bought one just so I could have one on this show.
It is the Steele's, a song to remind you. Just very excited about this record. Of course, Jeff, your son, is just incredible. An incredible talent, an incredible writer, vocalist, musician. I'm a subscriber on his YouTube channel. Brad, man, the sky's the limit, in my opinion, man. How proud are you of that kid?
Well, we love gospel music and all that goes along with it. But honestly, at my age, and I've got so much to do here with a startup church that's really growing. We, neither Sherry or I either one would have come back had it not been for the opportunities that it will present to Brad in the future. While I'd be the first one to tell you some of the sorriest people I've ever met in the world have been in Southern gospel music, some of the best people I've ever known have been in Southern gospel music too. And I like him exposed to the goodness of Southern gospel, the genuine goodness of its people. And, when I saw the opportunity to hook Brad up with Wayne Hahn, you got to realize Wayne probably met Brad when he was like 5 years old.
Right.
And, it means, Wayne, you're getting up there too, buddy. But Wayne is an absolute genius in the studio. He's a production genius. He's an arranging genius. And I can kind of see how this thing works now. I had the opportunity to work with and to know Larry Goss. And Larry was one of the great piano players, arrangers, producers. And Larry passed a lot of that on to Wayne. And now I can see how the generations work. I can see where Wayne will now entrust a good bit of that to Brad. And you mentioned the word proud. Yeah, we really are. I knew he could sing. I just didn't know what a genuine study he'd made of the art of singing until we went to see him at a high school talent show one day. He sang one of Michael Bublé's songs. I wish I could remember the name of it now. Cry Me a River. And I was just blown away by what he did. Sherry and I always thought that the third position here ought to be his. We always thought that.
Mm-hmm.
He never wanted to do it. And finally, one day he just stopped me and he said, Dad, let me tell you why I don't want to sing with your group. I said, why? He said, well, I don't like the songs that y'all sing.
Mm-hmm.
And I put my arm around him and just reminded him, I said, son, you do realize the songs that we sing are the songs that I write. And the songs that I write bought that shirt you're wearing, bought those breeches you're wearing, bought those socks you're wearing. And I think I might have said more than I wanted to that day, because he's become, at his age, every bit the writer that God ever let me be, and twice the singer that God ever let me be. I'll tell you, I'm kind of on vacation now. We'll go on stage, and as long as I sing one of the big ones at the first part of the program, as long as I sing a big one in the middle, and as long as I sing a big one at the end, my only other job is to look at the audience and say, have you really enjoyed the Steeles tonight? Because, I used to sing everything. It seemed like every time we turned around, I was singing some gigantic song, and now I don't have to do all that much anymore. And that's okay with me. I'm perfectly fine with that. And Sherry, her job is to keep us from being the ugliest group in gospel music. That's her whole job in a nutshell. And she does her job very well. So there you have it.
Absolutely.
It seemed like there was something else I was going to tell you through that whole tirade, and I just forgot about it. Whatever it was.
It may come back to you. It may come back to you.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've noticed my hat or not.
Which one?
It's from Disney. It's Space Mountain. What wrestler does that remind you of?
Woo!
Woo!
And I'll tell you something. I think Rick would say this on this same program. I believe Charlotte's better than he was at that point in his career.
Yes.
She's been my favorite since she's been here. She's worked harder. She's gotten better more quickly. And my wife bought me her book 2 Christmases ago, and man, I read it in half a day. And Charlotte, she's just her real name is Ashley, but Charlotte's just, she wants this really bad, and she's worked harder at it than anybody else I know. So I'm proud for her, and I'm proud of her.
Exactly.
Brad actually went to see her over in Huntsville, and he said, Dad, you didn't prepare me. I said, for what? He said, she's every bit as tall as you said she was, and then 5 more inches. She actually played volleyball at the school in Boone, college there at Boone, North Carolina, Appalachian State. She went there on a scholarship to play volleyball, and she figured it out like so many volleyball players have figured out in the past. I can't make a living doing this. I'm going to get out of college. I'm going to be able to make a living anywhere. So.
What a great athlete. We're talking about Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair's daughter in wrestling. I'm here talking with Dr. Jeff Steele. Of course, for those of you who are watching, if you do not recognize Jeff Steele from the gospel music industry, he is a #1 songwriter. He's written a couple of best-selling books. Jeff, what are these books? Of course, I know you wrote the one on weight loss, and then you have one, But God. Is that right?
Wow, you talk about a book, not in terms of the what's in it, but in terms of how. I mean, we've been selling that book for probably 5 or 6 years, and a lot of people discouraged me writing it. They said nobody ever want to read stuff like that. That thing is in its 77th printing now. That's how well it's done in the years we've had it out there. And the song "But God" a lot of people didn't really get it because we were just coming back there around 2012. And that song came out. And I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. I told Brad today, as a matter of fact, we were at the church doing some things, and but God, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to remember how it came out. We were listening to it somehow, and I said, Brad, the only thing I can tell you is if you know you've still got that one in your holster, you really don't care if the rest of the program starts falling apart on you. You know you've still got that one coming. And I don't care if it's a big church, little church, black church, white church, fancy church, uptown church, downtown church, country church. It doesn't matter where we sing that song. It always brings a special visitation of the Holy Spirit anytime we sing it. And I'm just glad God let me write it, because if it had gotten away and Gerald Crabb had written it, I don't know if I'd ever forgive myself.
A lot of great songs.
I love you, Gerald.
The website is jeffrsteele.com. It's on the screen. And I assume, Jeff, that people can go to the website and get possibly the book and any music that you guys have and information on the new record. Is that right?
That's correct. Our website is still up, but it's in the middle of an upgrade right now. But our stuff's always there. It's one thing you learn about your website. Always make sure, if the whole thing crashes, make sure your store stays up, because people always come looking on the website for the store.
Right. jeffrsteele.com. We're here talking, we're reminiscing about, we're talking about wrestling, we're talking about songwriting, we're talking about books, but the main reason we're here, and what I'm very proud to talk about, is this right here. It's the Steele's A Song to Remind You. Jeff, this thing was in the top 5 pre-release of all gospel music. It's not even out yet. That's pretty incredible.
Well, I had to keep looking up and seeing the people above us, and it bothered me, some of the folks that were above us. Then I began to realize, wait a minute, these are some of the biggest secular artists in the world. And of course, Ernie Haas and Signature Sound, they've just done a Gaither tribute project, which is very good.
Yes.
And there was one point on that, what did you just call it? The pre-release bestseller list. We were number 2, and Ernie and them were number 1 on that Amazon. We're talking about the Amazon list of top new releases.
Very cool.
And I just thought, for the sake of Southern gospel, I said, man, I don't know how it could be any better than this. Ernie at number 1, the Steeles at number 2. And then it hit me, we both record for the same record company. I said, if I try too hard to see this thing go to number 1 and beat Ernie, I may be out of a record deal. I might better stop where I'm at. And that's what we did. Now, as of yesterday, we've had the number 1 Southern gospel release for over a week, like 8 days. And we're thrilled about that too. But the big day, when I want everybody to go on there, you don't have to pre-order it anymore. You can go on there and order it right there at that moment for download right into your home. You can order it, and 2 minutes later, you can be listening to it. It's May the 15th, midnight, May the 15th. And I don't know that I've ever seen a bigger deal made over the release of a project than this one. And we're thrilled with Stowtown. This is a new deal. You got Landon Bean. That's Taranda's husband.
Right.
He's one of the owners. Ernie's one of the owners. Wayne Hahn is one of the owners. And if there are any more owners, I'm not leaving you out because I know who you are. I wanted to kind of disparage you. I'm leaving you out because I'm forgetting you. But and the way I said that made forgetting you sound like a bad thing. It's just, it's my thing. I forget stuff. But we're thrilled to be a part of the team. We've got, as label mates there, the Collingsworth family, the Perrys, Triumphant Quartet, the Irwins, the Taylors, and just on the Taranda Green Bean. And it's just a tremendous roster of talent. And I know there are several record companies in Southern Gospel that have tremendous talent rosters, but this may be the most diverse. And maybe when I say they're the most diverse group of people, that's just symbolic of the fact that, man, I'm really old looking back over my shoulder at all these kids that can still do all these things and have so much talent. But, you know,
Man,
Stowtown Records, Charles
very excited
Billingsley,
about it.
he's another one.
Yeah. What an incredible singer and guy he is too. Great.
And we need to be praying for him. He's just now coming off of COVID-19. He tested positive for it maybe 3 weeks ago, and he's coming back. Charles is a great singer. He'll be back soon enough.
He's great. Stowtown Records, the album, got to go pick it up. May 15th, everywhere music is online available. You can go to the website, jeffrsteele.com. It's the Steeles, a song to remind you. Very excited about this record, Jeff.
That single was pre-released ahead of time. It's only been out 2 months, but it's already at number 13 on the singing news chart. So we're excited about that. I just got a lot to be excited about. And I didn't even mention our church, Redeeming Grace Church,
in
Coleman, Alabama. And man, God's blessing that thing. It's growing by leaps and bounds. And quite frankly, the pandemic got us when none of us were expecting it. This Sunday will be our 7th Sunday to be having church online. In case you'd like to join us online Sunday, 10:30 a.m. That's Central Time, 10:30 Central. We just throw our service up there and let you watch it. Our praise team is great. The Steeles sing. I'll be preaching, and it's just an exciting time. And, you know, I said this will be our 7th week online. That's not quite accurate because the first week we were still having church. We shouldn't have been. The thing had already spread so much so quickly. We should have been out that first week too. But I pray God will forgive us and bless us in spite of our stupidity. We just shouldn't have been there. You ever have one of those services? Maybe there's bad weather coming or something like that, and everybody in the church knows we ought not to be here. Maybe the snow starts about halfway through the service. People can look out the windows and see it, and they're all saying, we got to get out of here. This thing, we're going to end up getting stranded here. That was the feeling we got on that first Sunday when we should have been online. But we've been online ever since.
I don't think any of us really anticipated what happened with the virus and the spread and how quick and how dangerous. I think a lot of people are comparing it to the flu, but this COVID-19, as it is, regardless of any conspiracy of where it may have come from, it's at least 10 times. We're 10 times more dangerous as far as you're more likely to get it than the flu, and you're least likely to recover as well from it. So it's very dangerous. I don't think any of us really realized it early on that it would be what it is now.
Well, I am 60 years old now, and in the last 6 years or so, I now have a history of seizures. And my neurologist told me, he said, buddy, if you so much as get a cold, I want you in here because any infection in your body could spark another seizure.
Right.
You got to pay closer attention. So I'm in 2 or 3 of the groups that would be the most highly affected. So I'm watching it like a wild man.
As you should. I think a good way to wrap this up is a question from Angie Olmstead. She said, how old were you when you got saved, Jeff? Tell us your introduction to Jesus Christ, and then I'm going to ask you to close the program in prayer if you don't mind. But tell us about coming to Christ.
I was 6 years old when, and I've even got the song that kind of tells the story. When the Spirit said, come, I got up and went. I was 6 years old when the Lord spoke to my heart. And I remember standing in front of that church that night. It was a revival meeting, shaking like a leaf. Didn't know what was happening to me exactly, but I knew enough to know that I was lost in my sins, and that if I were to die that night, I would bust hell wide open. And I didn't know what all was involved. I didn't know what I had to do, what I needed to do, but I knew I better get down there to that altar and find out. And God saved me as a 6-year-old boy. And one of the things I tell people, especially when I preach on the subject, it shames me to say this, but when you're saved at 6 and now you're 60, you come to the realization that the majority of sinning in my life has been done after I was saved. It's hard to rationalize that, hard to wrap your mind around some of that.
Right.
But thank God John told us if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just to forgive our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And thank God, Brad did a promo for radio promotion today, and he simply said, the prodigal son left home, lost it all, went to the pig pen, but he came back home to the arms of a loving father. And he said, that's the story, whether you know it or not. And in case you've forgotten it, here's a song to remind you. And I'm thankful that grace is bigger than we think it is. I'm thankful that the river of grace is deeper than we've ever imagined it could be. And I'm thankful for a God who loves me more than my own father loved me, more than my mother loved me. I'm thankful that God loved me so much that he gave Jesus Christ to die on the old rugged cross, to pay the price, to square up with God for the penalty that I owed because of my sin. And anybody tonight, if you're listening to us and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I'm living in the middle of a pandemic. I might contract this virus. And some of the folks I've heard about, they would wake up on Monday with no pre-existing conditions, no problems. And by Tuesday night, they're in intensive care, hooked up to a ventilator, wondering whether they're going to live or not. I pray you consider your own life tonight in terms of your relationship with God through Jesus Christ. And I want to pray. I want to pray for our nation. I want to pray for our leadership. I want to pray for this pandemic, that it might end sooner than later. God knows everything. This didn't sneak up on God. He's not surprised by this. So let's pray tonight. Pray for our nation. And I want to pray for any individual tonight who may be watching this program. Between the sorry host and the sorry guest, I don't know why you would be, but I'm thankful some of you were watching tonight. And I trust, maybe it's a divine appointment. God put you right here just to hear somebody say to you, we're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised another minute. God could see fit to have set the clock on your life and mine, however many years ago it was. And God may be looking at your clock right now and saying, oh, I hope they get saved, because I know their time is running out. Their opportunity is running out. Don't let it run out on you. Let's pray together. Father, in Jesus' name tonight, I ask you to look down at our nation, see the horrible condition we're in. Oh God, tens of thousands already in the grave due to this pandemic. And yet we must turn our eyes toward heaven and say, thank you, Lord. I wasn't one of them. And the person that's listening to me was not one of them. God has spared our lives another day, and we're on top side. God, thank you for that. And God, whatever and however and how much you need to do right now to fix this broken country, God, let our attention be turned on you, and let us say, I will not lift up mine eyes to the Republicans or the Democrats. We won't lift our eyes up to the House or the Senate. We won't lift our eyes up to the White House or the Supreme Court or even our own governor. But God, we will lift up our eyes to the hills from which cometh our help. Our help cometh from the Lord who made heaven and earth. God, I'm asking you now in Jesus' name to fix what's broken in this pandemic that has seized our nation. And God, I pray a special prayer for every person who's just not sure where they stand in connection with their relationship with you tonight, through the only begotten Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. I pray you won't let them sleep a good night's sleep. God, I pray this will be the most restless night of their life until they find somebody they know can tell them and ask them the question, what must I do to be saved? God, don't let another 24 hours pass until they have that experience. And God, I pray for every person right now that's sick and hurting. And this night will not bring the luxury of a good night's sleep because of the pain that grips their body and the sickness that has a hold of them right now. God, I pray you'll give them that good night's sleep. You'll ease the pain in their body. God, that you will heal them from the top of their head to the soles of their feet. God, bring healing and comfort to those tonight who need it the very most. God, grant that our futures will be brighter than our past. And thank you that that can happen through the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you for Joseph. Thank you for Iuka, Mississippi, where he is, and everybody that lives there. And God, I ask your blessings on this program. And God, I ask your blessings on his wonderful family and all the other folks we know and love tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for having me, but I enjoyed it.
Man, I've had such a good time. The Steeles, Jeff Steele. The Steeles, a song to remind you. It's going to be available everywhere May the 15th. And Jeff, thank you so much for taking time to be with me. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate you so much.
Man, I've almost worked up a sweat here.
You didn't know you was going to have to work that hard, did you?
Well, I don't like to work. I'd rather just sit around and do nothing if I can get away with it.
Man, thank you so much. I appreciate you and thoroughly enjoyed you being on the show. And thanks to everybody for watching. We've had a great time. Thanks for all your questions. Pick up the record. We're excited about it. Man, I can't wait.
Don't miss this one.
I've already pre-ordered mine. Don't forget,
That's
May
good.
15th.
You need to pre-order one for your family and all the folks you know.
That's right. Thank you, Jeff, so much.
God bless.
God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Mr. Jeff Steele. Wow, what an incredible man. What a wonderful songwriter, author, and pastor. You know, Dr. Jeff, I'll close the show, but a couple of times I've reached out to him. I felt impressed and inspired to reach out to Dr. Jeff when my wife was diagnosed, and I reached out to him for prayer. I reached out for him for prayer when I was going through some very difficult physical situations, and he's just been a very big encourager, and I admire and appreciate his ministry so much. I believe in Jeff Steele. I believe in what he does, and I believe in the Steeles. So don't forget, pick up this record, May 15th, a song to remind you. It's going to be released everywhere that you can just, and go to the website as well to pick this up. It is jeffrsteele.com is where you can go and get that. But thank you guys so much for watching the show. Always a pleasure. Coming to you from the paneling of an old country farmhouse in Iuka, Mississippi. God bless everybody.